Good evening, hockey fans from around the Nicola Valley. Welcome to the show where you can stay up to date on everything Merritt Centennials Talking Sense. I'm your host and play-by-play broadcaster for the Centennials, Jared Thomas, and Talking Sense is brought to you by DCS Auto, the automotive shop that can talk your vehicle's language. Bring your car in to Sean and Heidi on Lauder Street behind Cal Tire. We're heading into week 11 of the season, and the Sens had one lone game in the week that was, but it was a big one as they had a chance to catch the Salmon Arm Silverbacks in the standings. We'll start there as the Sens traveled to the Shaw Center for their third matchup of the season already. From now on, the season series will return to the confines of the Nicola Valley Memorial Arena. The rivalry renewed with the team skating scoreless before the Sens broke the goose egg midway through the first period on the power play.
Plays it all the way around for Brad Koka. At the right side, half wall, he'll stop up, evades a check from Constable. Now he'll play it back for Gerlip. Monroe. In on the left side, cross ice for Koka. Wrister, he gets through! Brad Koka!
Another power play goal for Brad Koka and the Centennials. It's pretty amazing when you consider they started the season off on a terrible 0-for stretch, not scoring till their 7th game of the season on the power play. They're now 5th in the league in the power play statistics. But it was 5-on-5 at the tail end of the first period where they got another go-ahead goal, this time from a likely source on the back end.
Stripped by Gosselin. He's loose in the slot. His shot deflected to the corner. Now Ryland Van Unen centering for Buckley. Wrister up high! Tyrell Buckley, baby! Going off top shelf where Mama hides the peanut butter. Roofs it on Kyle Dumba. What a feed from the corner. And the Sens lead 2-0, courtesy the captain.
The Sens went into the tunnel, into the dressing room with a 2-goal lead after 20 minutes of play. The script was looking perfect for the Centennials after 20, but to come out into the second, the Silverbacks starting to crawl back to life.
The Silverbacks, Monroe stands up his man at the defensive blue line. Now Shandor jumping ahead, plays it ahead for Adams, Wrister, and he'll score!
The Sens were able to restore the 2-goal lead just 5 minutes later. This time it was the Goose leading the Gander.
The latter half of the second period. We're back to the left point for Jackson Monroe. He'll double take, takes the shot! Matthew Gosselin on the rebound! Hots it, and the Sens get the 2-goal margin back in their favor. The Goose has touchdown.
The Silverbacks, however, would get back within one, courtesy their league-leading power play and their leading scorer, Rhett Kingston, with Joey Berkopec in the box for slashing.
Cross ice, Hales, Wrister, another blocker save by Berger, big rebound, and Rhett Kingston finds it and puts it past a sprawling Berger.
The Sens went into the third period ahead by 1. Destiny still in their hands, but in the third, the Silverbacks scored 3 unanswered, 1 more from Trevor Adams, and then 2 from their captain, Grayson Constable, to make it 5-3 the final. And the Sens don't manage to catch up to the Salmon Arm Silverbacks in the standings, and they'll have to sit on that loss for a full week before the Vernon Vipers come to town. In segment 2, we'll recap the game with head coach and general manager Joe Martin. It's Talking Sense, brought to you by DCS Auto, with myself, Jared Thomas. Welcome back to the show where you can stay up to date on everything Merritt Centennials Talking Sense. I'm your host and play-by-play broadcaster, Jared Thomas, and Talking Sense is brought to you by DCS Auto. Take your vehicle in to the shop that can talk your vehicle's language. After the game, the 5-3 loss to the Salmon Arm Silverbacks, I had the chance to chat with head coach Joe Martin about what went wrong in that final 20 minutes of play.
I think that their veteran players outplayed our veteran players. Up front, I felt that most of the guys I could really throw out there were some of our younger players, and every time they were on the ice, the puck seemed to be in the offensive zone, and the older players on the ice, they got scored on. I think they were -2 in that period. That was the difference there, and they were pretty easy to play against, and they got scored on the first period too. And
The head coach was still high on one of his veterans, however.
Zorn was great. He sacrificed himself to try to get the team going. Our leading scorer out there trying to get us going, and it sparked the same guys. The same guys went out there and had a great shift. Ryland's been outstanding. Stocky's been great. Goose has been real good. Scored tonight, and those guys were good all night. I wish if I had a full team of those guys, we would have won that game for sure.
We also talked about how it was going to be difficult sitting on this loss and dwelling on it for a full week.
Tough to have this one game, and tough for us to a goaltender to sit on that, and some of our veteran players to sit on that, and go back to the drawing board here on Monday with some guys, some healthy guys sitting out, and question marks on some veteran hockey players whether or not they should even play.
Another veteran who came back in this game off of injury, Chase Bell. I asked Joe Martin what he thought of his play.
He had a couple plays to the net. He had a great play leaving our zone when he ran over the Silverback there against the wall, and know where he can go on that, and good on Chase for not bailing on that and getting the puck out. That was a great play and uplifting moment for us to get going again, and stuck in wind a little bit out there as expected. Plays the puck, earned his clean. I don't think that for Chase what he wants, and he's a good centerman, but we didn't want to put him into draws tonight. But I think for Chase that was what's expected in his first game and such a long break. But going forward here, he's a big part of this hockey team, so we're going to need a lot more from Chase, but that will come.
We finished with a little look to the Vernon Vipers and what challenges they represent.
The Vipers are very deep up front, and they've got lots of good defensemen and two good goaltenders. But what makes Vernon, one of the top teams in our league is just depth in the same, whether it's the Stapley line or all the way down to I don't even know who's on the fourth line, but third line centerman Prokop's a good player, and they just play the same way. They play hard, they play straight, they do their job, they do a good job of it. So you don't get a shift off. Some shifts are more dangerous than others because they're veteran hockey players that are playing really well. And then by the time the third or fourth line comes around, it's not a freebie. They're going to play the game extremely hard, just a little bit less scoring with those guys, and so it's going to be a good test. And unfortunately, now we failed the test tonight, so we're heading into that one with our heads down. But we got a long week to go here.
Joe Martin looking forward to the matchup against the Vipers on Friday. We'll take a quick break, but be back with Evan the Hammer Hammond, play-by-play broadcaster for the Alberni Valley Bulldogs, and he'll give us a preview of the Bulldogs when we return to Talking Sense, brought to you by DCS Auto, with me, Jared Thomas. Welcome back to the show where you can stay up to date on everything Merritt Centennials Talking Sense. With me, Jared Thomas. Talking Sense brought to you by DCS Auto, the auto repair shop that can talk your vehicle's language. In segment 3, I'm joined by a very special guest, Evan the Hammer Hammond of the Alberni Valley Bulldogs. We started off talking about the challenges of the Nicola Valley Memorial Arena.
A storied old barn where things happen fast, where the ice surface is smaller than regulation, where it's always so tough for a visitor to come in there, especially a visitor that comes about once a year. And as much as, I'll try to relay to the players, and the coaching staff will try to relay to the players how ready you really have to be and how fast things really do happen and how there is no bad shot option in the rink. It doesn't seem to ever translate into a full, complete awareness once the game gets going and the bullets fly for real, so to speak.
Turning back to the Bulldogs, how would you summarize the season so far?
Well, consistently inconsistent, moments of brilliance and moments of ineptitude. You can maybe even say that the season would be quite aptly described to reference to the head-to-head game that these two teams played last Saturday, or the Saturday before, pardon me, where the Bulldogs are a fast team. They play with pace. They are good at creating opportunities. They ran up a 17-4 shots on goal advantage in that first period against the Centennials. Almost ran them out of the rink. Maybe that's just what the home side thinks. And didn't score, and it's 0-0 after one. And, next thing you know, Merritt scores a minute into the second and takes a 3-0 lead into the third. And you're kind of sitting there scratching your head if you're on the Bulldog side of the puck, wondering what happened. Then all of a sudden it's a 3-3 tie with 2 minutes to play in the third period, and no one wins in overtime with both goalies being very good. The former Centennial Lancaster and the Bulldog net that night. The season's been kind of like that. They've had some big wins. They've had some big losses. They've hovered up and around 500 and have taken some lumps, so they've also picked up some big wins.
I'd say that is almost the exact synopsis of the Centennial season as well. You guys brought in a little bit of extra offensive talent, 2 dog-related teams coming together for a trade.
The moves you're referencing, they sent Graham Rutledge to the Truro Bearcats of the Maritime Hockey League. They acquired Tyler Van Uden from Dryden in the Superior International Junior Hockey League. And he's just kind of an interesting story, Van Uden. He's a player that's from Port Francis, Ontario, that was playing Junior B on Vancouver Island last year because he had the goal of being in the BCHL. Instead, committed to the defending Alberta Junior Hockey League champions, Brooks Bandits. Played 6 games there and then very surprisingly got traded. He got traded back to Dryden like you referenced. He didn't want to report there, wanted to play out west, and went back to Victoria and played Junior B there until the trade was completed last week on Thursday. And just made his debut on the weekend. And he's an undersized guy, but offensively gifted. And I think that's something that any team's looking for, is someone that can help them put pucks in the other team's net.
And we'll be looking forward to Van Unen and Van Uden.
Oh, my goodness, I just realized that. Can we get Joe Martin to perhaps at least scratch one of the Van Unens? Because if we have 3 in the game that close, that's really tough.
Yeah, and they're all going to be on the ice at the same time.
Absolutely. Battling it out in a 3-man battle in the corner.
That's right. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me, Evan, and we'll look forward to the matchup on Saturday, Bulldogs and Cents.
I appreciate the time, and thanks for having me on the show.
Evan Hammond of the Alberni Valley Bulldogs joining me for a look ahead at the matchup on Saturday against the Bulldog. But before that, the Cents will face the Vernon Vipers on Friday night. Both puck drops at 7 p.m. If you can't make it out to the Nicola Valley Memorial Arena, remember you can always listen right here on Q101 with myself, Jared Thomas. Until game time, this has been Talking Cents, brought to you by DCS Auto. See ya. Love ya. Bye.